was 14 years old when it happened. It was because of Eddie Van Halen. It was a guitar and a guitarist that made sounds that I'd never heard before. And now, 30 years later, his inspiration still drives me. I need to talk with other musicians about their passion and what set them on their own musical journey. Welcome to Musical Journeys.
Next comes the big moment where all of a sudden it's like lightning hit me. Like it was like unbelievable. It is 2 o'clock in the morning in 1983 and I'm flipping the channels on my TV. And, back in that point, you didn't really have a remote control. You only had 4 channels, so there was no point in having a remote control. You just flipped the channels. That was it. So I flipped the channel. I see this guy. He's got long blonde hair, and they're doing an interview. And he's obviously a musician, and his name is David Lee Roth. And I didn't even know who David Lee Roth was. I'd never seen him, nothing. I didn't know who Van Halen was, except back in a year before, I was doing a BMX race, and my buddy and I were riding back in the van, and Beat It came on the radio, and he goes, "Hey man, this is Beat It with the guitar player Eddie Van Halen." And I'm like, "Who's Eddie Van Halen? Never heard of that." Because you didn't see these people. We didn't have the internet. You didn't even know what they looked like. Eddie Van Halen, okay. So the solo comes on to Beat It, and I hear it, and it's pretty cool, right? And so fast forward to Don Kirshner's rock concert. I'm sitting there watching David Lee Roth. They flipped to the Unchained video at the end of the interview. And they come out on stage, and it is unbelievable. I mean, the music that I'm hearing, it's got this low note in it. It's drop D, which I didn't know what that was. And a chill went down my spine. And it still affects me that way today, thinking about it. It was so powerful to me to hear the song Unchained. And then at the end, he's playing all these super fast runs that he does. And I had never heard guitar like that. I've never heard distortion like that. And it just blew me away. I knew that moment what I was going to be doing for the next 30 years. And I am still here. And I'm holding the guitar that Eddie Van Halen played. Well, not the actual one, but a copy of the one he played in that video, Unchained. Right here, because now they have these out. But this was the seminal guitar. Now everybody thinks of the black and white or the black, white, and red, but this was the guitar I saw him playing in that video, and my life was changed. So now you know why I own this. So after that was over, I was just driven like a madman to become a guitar player. And so my parents, decided, okay, we'll get you a guitar, we'll get you an amp. So they got me this guitar right here. A Ibanez Roadstar 2 from 1983. It's got a bird's eye top, which is kind of unique, a bird's eye maple top, and I think it's alder body, and some really cool like PAF pickups. And they got me a crate amp, and I was just kind of messing around at the house, trying to make noise until I got some lessons. Prior to this, now there was a guitar around my house that my uncle had, a little black guitar. And when I first saw the Van Halen video, I immediately grabbed this guitar and was trying to learn how to play. But of course, I didn't know anything. And then my parents got me this 1983, Christmas of 83. And then in late 83, right after Christmas, I remember we had an ice storm. And ice storms in the South, they wipe out everything. You got no power, nothing. And you're sitting around a fireplace with a radio on, and that's all that you got. And the radio's on, and they start playing Jump, because it had just been released for the 1984 Van Halen album. And they announced that Van Halen's coming in a month from when I'm hearing this, in January, late January, to Birmingham, where I lived at the time. And I'm going to get to see Van Halen live. The band I saw on this TV show, within a year, they were going to be in our town, and I had to see it. So anyway, that was a seminal moment that I remember that I was going to be able to see Van Halen. The records and the things that after that video, I went back and bought all the records, of course. The funny thing about it was I didn't know what record this Unchained song was on. I just knew that it was Van Halen. So I went to the record store and looked at the vinyl and I found a record where it had pictures on the back that looked like the video, the Fair Warning video, the Unchained video from Fair Warning, but I didn't know what it was Fair Warning. So I grabbed the record and bought it. It was Diver Down. It wasn't Fair Warning. And I realized, well, that doesn't have it on it. And I kept buying all the other albums trying to find this song. And, of course, got introduced to all the great music from all the great Van Halen albums. And, of course, the insane guitar playing that just got better and better and better from Van Halen 1, Eruption, Spanish Fly on 2, all the great songs on Women and Children first. Of course, Fair Warning, finally I found Unchained, Mean Streets. I mean, oh my God, the songs, they were just crazy. And then, of course, Diver Down was great. And now I'm going to see Van Halen for their new album, 1984. I'm 16 years old. I go to the show. My dad takes me and my sister. I run off with my friends, get in the lower deck because it's general admission. And they go upstairs. And we see the biggest rock show probably that ever existed to this day. With the park hands, I think of this book I just read, they said they had 2,000 park hands. Insane. I don't think they were making any money on that tour, without that merchandising, because it was so big. But it blew me away. I finally saw Eddie Van Halen in person. Again, you don't see these people at the time on TV. MTV didn't exist. You just saw them on these shows like Don Kirshner's rock concert. So my mind was blown, and I'm like the guitar nut at that point. So I end up going crazy. My parents, get me this guitar, thinking that I'll probably, it'll be a phase and it'll be done, because I did that a lot as a kid. But then on my 16th birthday, again, just only months after the '84 concert, I'd gone guitar bananas and told my parents, dang it, I need a Gibson. So, they finally gave in on my birthday on the 16th birthday and bought me this 1984 Explorer and this Lead 12 Marshall amp, because you had to have a Gibson and you had to have a Marshall if you were going to be a rock god, a rock star. And that was my, my thing. I wanted to be in Van Halen, obviously, after that. So it was crazy.